Welcome to Brain Noodles with Ivy Whitlock, your ADHD demisexual polymath. Today we're talking about care and recognition in the context of an experience that I had at the dentist. After my meltdown, I was diagnosed with autism and ADHD, and I went through a process of regression and relearning. One of the first things that I learned to do was prepare scripts and an in case of emergency card to help me feel more secure in public. Before any of this, I already had a hard time going to the dentist. My mom has no shortage of stories. I laid out my clothing, prepared my script, packed comfort objects, charged my earbuds, and found my sunglasses. I arranged to get there early so I could acclimate and read my book. I was ready. When I arrived, I was given a piece of paper with all the options available to make my visit more comfortable. I'd never seen that before, and I almost burst into tears. I put my armor on because I needed to be prepared for battle. The relief that poured over me when they handed me the page was so overwhelming that it felt closer to grief. In other words, is where I connect a meaningful quote to my experience. So, in other words, we are, from the start, already in relation to others, and what we can be, quite clearly, depends on those relations. Of course, if you want to learn more about Butler, there are some details and links in the description. And now it's time to tug the noodle, my process for understanding an experience. I've been thinking about what care actually looks like in practice in public. And at 35 years old, I have one personal example. That seems off to me. From some casual looking around on the internet, concepts of patient-centered care are common. Statements are published, and they are written in such a way that we, in the public, are inclined to believe it. And why not? It's a nice thing to be considered as a person. Where I live, in Alberta, the ideals espoused in these statements are, as a matter of conservative routine, underfunded, in line with the negligence and reticence they express towards actually doing their jobs. Frontline workers still try, often heroically and with little thanks, but these individuals shouldn't have to compensate for structural failure with personal sacrifice. It's insane to me that I have to say that. What almost broke me wasn't a moral argument by a philosopher or a budget speech by a career politician. It was a single page of paper. Someone in a small, slightly miserable dentist office with dismal air circulation and carpet from the 80s noticed a pattern. They saw patients struggling. They asked questions. They identified where the system itself was creating unnecessary harm, and they developed a tool. Care and recognition doesn't have to be costly or complicated to be effective. It doesn't require grand gestures or elaborate pontifications. Sometimes it arrives as a form, a checkbox, a process that says, we saw a problem. We changed the conditions because everyone that walks in here deserves to be treated properly. This is the work of applied anthropology. Observe the system, understand the pressure points, intervene where it actually matters. The fun part about this, though? Well, I think it's fun. You don't need a fancy degree to do this. You just need to care about people. One piece of paper can make a difference. Yeah, here's what really storms my seas, though. Like, how is it that the bar for human decency is so irregular that it floors me when I experience it in the wild? I'm grateful. Truly, I'm truly grateful for when I do, but I'm also furious about this. My relief reveals a thick layer of damage from how normalized it is for people like me to be treated without regard, and how bloody simple it is to avoid. So for all of you out there, trying your best not to be a complete douche canoe, you're awesome. Now, my noodle walker would like to show you something. And if you know what it is, let us know in the comments. Now, it helps me to write things down, so it's time to take note. It's okay to be prepared, and it's okay to feel relieved, because this system has trained you to expect worse. And until next time, dear viewer, keep your ink on the page.